Hi, in this video we are going to talk about functions, conditional statements and control flow. So start with the basic function structure. Here I'm going to create our add function again. I'm going to say x and y as the parameters and their types are i32, and here I have my return which is i32, and here I will say let result equals x plus y and return result. Here, as we talked before, we are creating functions with the fn keyword. Then we have our function name, and next we have our parameters. Here we have two parameters, x and y, and their types are i32. As we talked before, we need to specify the types of parameters that we are using, and then with this arrow I'm specifying my return type, and this will be the type of variable that I will be returning with this function. We don't have to have parameters or return statements. We can have another function called no param here. We will take no parameters and we are not going to return anything. We are going to just say println. This just works. If I want to return something, I can say, let's say i32, and then we are going to return 1. Once again, I want to say we don't have to return variables like this. Instead saying return 1, we can basically say 1 without any semicolons, and this means I want to return this value. So it's the same thing as saying 1 here and saying return 1 here. And let's see how we can use these functions in our code. For that, I'm going to create a variable. It's called sum, and I will say add, and I will pass 3 and 5, and I will say println the sum is, and let's see what the sum is. I will say sum here, and let's run this. First I will say cargo build, so I will build my project, and after that I'm going to say cargo run, and here you can see our sum is 8. Now let's see how we can use conditional statements. When I say conditional statements, I mean if, else if, and else. So it's pretty simple. It's the basic structure that we use with other programming languages. And let's see how it works with an example. Here I'm going to say day of the week, and I will say Sunday. I don't know if you watch Formula 1, but in Formula 1, on Saturdays we have qualifying, on Sundays we have race, and during the week we wait for the next race. And so we are going to say if day of the week is equal to Sunday, then we want to say println the race day. We are happy today. Else if day of the week is equal to Saturday, we are going to say qualifying today. We are still happy. But if it's a weekday, then we will say patiently wait for the race day. So let's see how we use our structure here. First we have a variable, and our variable is Sunday. Then we are saying if day of the week equals Sunday, then execute this line here between the curly brackets. So, and then we are saying else if. So if this condition is not true here, but this condition is true here, then execute this line of code which says qualifying today. But if this condition is false and this is also false, with our else statement we are saying for any other condition, I want to run this line which says patiently wait for the race day. Next, let's talk about our loops. We are going to talk about while loop, for loop, and the loop which is an infinite loop. So let's start with the while loop. Let's say while here. Then I'm going to say let mute counter equals 0. So here we are creating a counter that we are going to use in our while loop. Then I'm going to say while counter is smaller than 5, println, let's say counter value is counter. Then we are going to increase counter. So let's see what happened here. With if and else statement, we were saying if this condition is true, then run this line of code. But with while statement, what we are saying is as long as this statement is true, as long as counter is smaller than 5, then execute the code between these brackets here. So as long as the counter is smaller than 5, we are going to say counter value is the current counter value at that time, and then we are going to increase the counter. So for the first iteration, we are expecting it to be 0 since we initialize it with 0. Then we are going to increase counter. Now it's 1. For this iteration, we are expecting it to say counter value is 1. Then we are going to increase the counter. Once our counter value is 4, we are going to say counter value is 4 because our counter is updated to 4. Then we are increasing counter by 1. So now our counter equals to 5. Then we go back to our while loop and check this condition here. Counter is smaller than 5. Since our counter became 5, it's equal to 5, not smaller than 5, this code here won't be executed, and then Rust will continue with other statements down here. So let's run and see. So let's look at this first. As you can see, it says the race day because our day of the week is Sunday, and we said if the day of the week is Sunday, run this part. And this part is println the race day, so it says the race day. For our while loop here, what we said is as long as the statement is true, run this code. Let's see what happened. First, the counter is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is not 5 because we said as long as it's smaller than 5. If we said smaller or equal here, and if we run the code again, we can see that now it's from 0 to 5 because we included 5, and for the last iteration, it came here as 5. It was all okay, we ran it. When it became 6, then it stopped, so we couldn't print out the value when it's 6. So let's see another example with the for loop. Let's say for loop here. I'm going to say counter is equal to 0 so that I don't need to create another variable again and again. Here I will say for number in 1 to 5, execute this code and println number is, and I will say number here. So let's look at the structure. If you're coming from another programming language like JavaScript or Java, what you are used to is to, let's say, number is equal to 1, then we are going to increase the number until it becomes this number. So that's the basic ideology with many other programming languages. So with Rust, we are saying we want to iterate through this number between 1 and 5, and here we are not including 5. To include 5, we can put equal sign here. Now is from 1 to 5. Here is from 1 to 5 excluding 5, meaning 1 to 4 actually. So let's run this code and see. As you can see, our number is 1, 2, 3, and 4 because we didn't include 5. Let's include 5. As you can see, now it's 5. So it's very useful to get used to creating for loops like this, because let's imagine if you have an array called numbers, and this has I32 as types, and we have 5 of them, and I will say here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here I'm going to say numbers, and we'll run this code again. As you can see, we have the same result. So we are iterating in this numbers array, and before we were iterating between 1 and 5. When we said we want to iterate between 1 and 5 with the dot notation like we use, it creates something like this and iterates in it. So the ideology is always the same, but the way we are creating differs. So let's look at the loop. Now let's create our loop. First we will say counter equals 0 here. Then we are going to start our loop. We will say is, we are going to create the same loop with the while so we can see how we can have the same functionality. And then we will say counter. Next, we are going to say counter plus equals 1. So we are increasing counter in each iteration. And then we are creating a condition. So with this condition, we are going to exit loop. I'm going to say if counter equals 6, then break. So here what we are expecting it to be, it's going to write the counter value here. So for the first time it's going to be 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after we increase it, it became 5. Then it's going to run again. It's going to say counter value is 5. Then we are going to increase it with 1. Then it's going to become 6. Once it's 6, in this check, it's going to check if the counter is equal to 6 or not. Since it's 6 now, we are going to execute this line here, which is the break, and that's how we are going to exit our loop. So this is the same functionality that we have here. Here we were checking the condition on the top in the while loop. In the loop, instead, we are creating the condition manually here. Instead of saying run this as long as counter is equal to or smaller than 5, here we are saying I want to execute this and then check if the counter is equal to 6. If it is, then break. So it's the same thing we are saying in just different ways. So let's run and see if our results are equal. As you can see, what we got is the counter value is from 0 to 5. And here we have the same thing, counter value is from 0 to 5. So as we said, this is the basic ideology of the loop. There are many use cases of this, and we can use this loop as while loop, and we can use this loop as a for loop if it comes to that. So this is the base loop that we can use. We will be using this kind of loop further in our later lessons. Next, we have the match statement. So match statement is like the switch statement in other programming languages, if you have used JavaScript or in many other languages. But it's not just a switch statement, it's more powerful. In this lesson, we are going to make the introduction for the match statement, but in the later lessons, you will see how we can use this in much more powerful ways. To create the match statement, I'm going to create a number here. Let's say my number is 5. Then I'm going to say match num. So this means that run this code for every value of the num. So this means that we are going to run this code for the following values of the num. First, I'm going to say 1. So this means that run this if this num here is equal to 1. And I'm going to say println the number is 1. So here, since we had just one statement, our println statement, we didn't put any brackets here. But what we can do is we can also use it like this. So if we have a couple of statements, and let's say this is the first match arm. If we have a couple of statements, it's what we need is we need to use this bracket. So between this block, we can put multiple lines. Let's create the second one. I'm saying if this num equals to 2, then we are going to say println is 2, and then comma. So I'm going to do this for the value 3. So here, I'm going to say 3. As you can see, I have an error here. If we check this error, it says that ensure that all possible cases are being handled by adding a match arm with a wildcard pattern. So these are called match arms. Each of these is an arm of this match statement. When we say match arm, we mean these statements here. So for the wildcard part, what it says is actually I know what I'm going to do if the value of num equals to 1, equals to 2, or equals to 3. But what happens when the value of this variable num is not 1, 2, or 3? So it's enforcing us to create a logically accurate code. So this is one of the reasons why we say Rust is a secure language. There are many more deep reasons than this, but this is a good example where Rust forces us to write a logically safe code. So we need to create a statement saying for every other value, run this code. It's basically like an else statement in our conditionals. So we are going to say underscore, then we will create a match arm, and for this we will say the number is something else. You can put this last comma here. It's also okay not to put it here, but since I modify my code very frequently, I generally put this comma because I never know when I'm going to add code or not. So it's no problem to put comma at the end, and you can see in many codes. So don't think it's a bug because in many languages it doesn't accept comma for the last statement or for the last line. So let's run this code and see what happens. But we are expecting it, since our num is 5 here, when we go to the match statement, it's going to check if it's 1, it's not, then it's going to check if it's 2, if it's 3. Since these are all false, then it's going to come to this statement, which is our else here. Then it's going to print out the number is something else. So let's see if that's true. You don't need to believe me, but as we can see, it says the number is something else. So this is one way of using match statements. It's more like using it as a switch statement. So let's see another way that we can use this match statement. Since Rust is an expression-based language, we can use this match statement as an expression, and we can get the return value of this expression, and we can put this value to a variable. So let's give an example. I'm going to create a variable called result here, and then I'm going to say match num. Here, after this code runs, there will be a result, a return value that we are going to have. We will put this value to this result. Here I'm going to say if it's 1, then the number is 1. Here we are returning this value. And instead of doing this, we could have created the brackets here, and inside the brackets we could have said like return this semicolon. But since we know that we can use return like this, instead of saying return this semicolon, we can just put this as we talked before. So it's a shortcut that we are using here. And I'm going to create this for the other values. Let's say 2 here, 3 here, and here I'm going to say the number is something else. We are using return here if we had something which is not a return statement. So let's say if it's 4, we want to say printed and the number is 4. It's going to give us an error here because this result is waiting for a value to return, and then it's going to have this value. If we say printed and here the num is 4, and then this arm will be executed, and as a result of this execution, what we are going to have is just the value printed here. So we don't returning any value, so the result won't have any value. That's why we are having an error. Once we use match like this, we need to be sure that we are returning some value, so this variable can have some value. After this, I'm going to say printed and the result is, and we are going to print the result. Let's check it out. As you can see, it says the result is the number is something else. So it's not the best way to write it, obviously, but as we can see, what we got is the number is something else. So this is one of the usages of match. As we talk, it's actually a very powerful way, and we are going to talk about this in more depth in our later lessons. And that's all for today's lesson. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next one.